you might want to know and to hear how the different microphones now really sound in comparison one with the other. And for this I have track bounced my Bach recording, and I did a stereo track bounce for each couple of microphones, and then I loaded these stereo files in this multi-track virtual project. And here you can see that each track is named by the type of microphone that I used, and we can click on the solo button during the playback, and then you can hear the differences in sound of all these different microphones. So let's start with the DPA microphone, and then I'm going to click on other microphones so that we have a direct comparison of these microphones. There is one thing that I would like to say, however. All these microphones were placed in almost the same position, the same height and the same distance to the instrument. This sounds really good for some of those, and a little bit disadvantageous for other microphones, which does not mean that these microphones are less good. It's just that they were not maybe placed in the perfect position, because each of these microphones has a special character, and in general you have to find the right place for your specific microphone and the specific situation, the specific instrument you are recording in a specific building. So this is something that was just this special situation in this particular church, and these microphones may sound different in other places with other instruments in other positions. So don't take that for a real ranking of the microphones. It's just one position in one particular building, one particular instrument. But it gives an idea how the character of the microphone is. And this is already, I think, worth being listened to. So I start with the DPA microphone. And in comparison, the Schoeps MK3, which is a diffuse sound field equalized capsule, will sound like that. The difference is not very big. Now I'm going to switch, while I play it back, between the two microphones. And you can already hear that the MK3 sounds a little bit more brilliant. This is because of this diffuse field character of the capsule, because it has a compensation for high frequency losses with larger distances to the sound source. So this is done on purpose, but the same microphone, the MK3, might sound really unnaturally brilliant when you get closer to the instrument. Now, there is another Schoeps microphone. It's the MK2S. It has a bit of high frequency boost, but maybe half of this. So this is a microphone that can be placed closer to the sound source. And when I compare these two, you will immediately hear that the MK2S sounds a bit darker than the MK3. I start with the MK3. Let's go to another place in the music. I think that the difference is really big between these two microphones, which only means that the MK2S would have been better placed a little bit closer to the instrument. So for that particular position in this church, the MK3 sounds better, which does not at all mean that the MK2S is not as good as this one. It just can be placed closer, and then the high frequencies will not sound as dark as in this position. I will also compare the Schoeps MK2S to the DPA. Here the same has to be said again. Here the DPA with the diffuse field grids that I put on top of the capsules sounds better than the MK2S microphone, which only has a little bit of higher frequency boost. Let's compare the MK21, which is a wide cardioid, to a real omni microphone. Which means that the wide cardioid is in between an omni and a real cardioid, and it blends out a part of the acoustic, so it's suitable for situations where you do not want to capture the full reverb of the building. I will compare it with the MK3, and let's listen how the difference is. You can hear that the sound of the MK21 again is a little bit darker than the sound of the diffuse field MK3. It has, the MK21 has no high frequency boost in order to compensate for larger distances, and it also sounds less round in the low frequencies, in the basses. In the beginning of that piece, you hear the real 32-foot with 16 hertz frequency. They are reproduced more accurately with a real omni. Pay attention to that. Yeah, it's a little bit thin in the low frequency range, but it's still a very good microphone that can be used in other situations perfectly. There is a real cardioid microphone, which is the famous Neumann KM140, which is similar to the nowadays KM184. And this is a cardioid microphone that was used in A-B stereophony, in phase stereophony. So no coincident couple, it's just the microphones were placed like 30 centimeters apart. And it sounds like that. Yes, the sound is a little bit thin and even has less low frequency response compared to the MK21. I think so. Oh, this has clearly more basses. And as I said, it's a real cardioid, so this is not surprising, as this cardioid microphone has a roll off as down from 50 hertz. So it's not surprising that the 32-foot is not as powerful as with a real cardioid. But on the other side, if you have a space with too much acoustic, you can use these microphones in order to resolve that problem. And you can maybe, if you have enough money, you buy another couple, you buy an omni couple, you make a recording with 4 tracks, and then you just use the low frequency range of the omni and mix it to the cardioid. There is another microphone. This is the AKG C414, which has the switchable polar patterns, and it was set to cardioid, and as you can check in the other video, it was the so-called ORTF stereophony. So this gives the following results. You can hear the sound is a little bit darker than compared to the DPA 4006, but I have to say I think it's a very good microphone despite its large diaphragm, which is not so much recommended for recordings over bigger distance. It's a very good soloist microphone. It can be used for singers, it can be used for piano, it can be used for vocal ensemble, but it does a good job here actually. The stereo image is a little bit different. Because yeah, it's now phase stereophony. It's just the ORTF with the distance of 17 centimeters and the angle is 110 degrees between the capsules. For me, it's a very versatile microphone. I use it since more than 20 years, and it's really I use it really often as a spot microphone, for instance. And then we have these Octava microphones, which are made in Russia, and Chris put the Omni capsules on the amplifier, and they sound as follows. Again, these microphones sound a little bit darker. Especially compared to the Schoeps MK3. But they have enough bass, and I would say that if we would have placed them a little bit closer to the instrument, the result would have been even more satisfying. So for the price, they seem really good. And the Soyuz microphone also had omni capsules. I would even say they sound a little bit similar to the MK2S, which is a good sign. They are a little bit more expensive than the Octava microphones. I think they do a really good job, and they have also enough of low frequency. Oh yes. Now let's listen to the DPA 4060 boundary layer microphone. These little tiny microphones that are fixed in these black rubber plates and that are fixed with tape on the ground. They sound like this. As I announced in the other video, they sound a little bit harsh in the high frequencies, something that I don't really like so much, but you can do something about that in using an equalizer. I have prepared a little equalizing here in this mixer, so I softened the higher frequencies around 8.5 kilohertz by 3.5 decibels, and this makes them sound more gentle. You will hear. When I click on bypass, they sound more brilliant, and this way they sound more natural. Well, the good thing about the microphones is that they have really this restitution of low frequencies, as they are omnidirectional microphones, and as they are fixed on the ground, we call this half omni. We compare it again with equalizer, and then we compare it to the DPA, the real one. Maybe the real DPA omnis, they sound, of course, they have more richness in sound, but I think that this boundary layer microphone is really a versatile thing, and it's very easy to set up, and it gives quite satisfying results in difficult situations when you have no big microphone stand, when you have not much time to set up your equipment. You can really obtain satisfying results with these little microphones. It just needs a little bit of EQing, and then you can get really interesting results. Okay, And then we have 2 microphones left. There's these AKG C414. This is a real cardioid microphone, and it's placed in coincident stereophony. So the microphones the capsules are one above the other and at an angle of 90 degrees. This is pretty much different from all these stereo techniques that we have listened to before, and you will be really surprised by the difference in sound. I would say that as for the character of this microphone, it doesn't sound bad at all. It has enough brilliance. As a cardioid, it doesn't have really much bass, but the transparency of this microphone is really excellent. What may disturb you here in this recording is just the coincident stereophony, and it's not fair to present this microphone in this stereo setup. But there is another gimmick, something you can use in order to improve that. It's the so-called stereo enhancer, which I have in this software. It might not be implemented in other environments. Here it is, and this really helps to get a more convincing stereo image out of this recording. As I turn this off, it immediately gets narrow. It's not a bad microphone, finally. And the last microphone is the built-in microphone from the Zoom H4n SD card recorder. And this is also more or less coincident stereophony. You have seen these silver little microphones that are integrated in this little machine, and they sound like this. As for the character itself of this microphone, I don't think it's so bad, and we have the same problem here, the same phenomenon as the Zoom microphones are arranged in coincidence setup, which makes the sound, the stereo image, a little bit narrow, as we have heard for the AKG. But the frequency range restituted by this microphone sounds really okay. It's really not bad. And we can, of course, apply that same tool to this stereo track and enhance the stereo image a little bit. So that's very interesting. You can hear that you can obtain quite satisfying results with this Zoom recorder. Just you have to do a little bit of EQing and stereo enhancing, and then it gives quite satisfying results. And this goes without buying an extra microphone. Of course, you have to find the right position, the perfect position for this tool, and you have to try a lot of things and test and go back and listen carefully with your headphones. But yeah, I think that was an interesting comparison. I would like to underline again that for some of these microphones, the position that we had in the church was not perfect, but this comparison was made so that you can hear the different characters of the microphone, that you understand that for a restitution of really low frequencies you need an omni microphone, and that in difficult acoustics it's better to have a cardioid microphone or even a boundary layer system, and the rest is just test and try how it sounds, and yeah, have fun with everything. Thank you.